Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another special Google Meet version of Indexer Office Hours. Today is the 7th of October, and this is Indexer Office Hours 228. As you can see, new venue, a little bit of a change in environment, but nonetheless, everything will be pretty much the same. If anyone is new to Indexer Office Hours, first and foremost, thank you for bearing with us and migrating over to the Google Meet. This is the town square for ecosystem participants to come together and discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexes. My famous line is coming next. As always, this is a conversation and we do love participation. So feel free to get involved in today's conversation via voice or text in the corner. There's no Discord permissioning, so all of you should be able to unmute your mic and there shouldn't be any issues. And of course, you have the text box in the corner there. And today we have Slim from the foundation, Orion, who's going to be having a discussion with us on some foundation level stuff, and engagement would be utmost appreciated. So feel free to get involved in today's conversation. Just as a reminder, as always, this session is going to be recorded and posted onto public channels like YouTube. So if you are concerned about privacy, please bear that in mind. And with that, let's finally get into the normal flow of things with our regularly scheduled Repo Watch section. So without further ado, take it away, Carlos.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Repo Watch. So this week we have 3 releases. There's 2 patch versions, both for Red and Nethermind. So Red is now at 1.8.2 and Nethermind at 1.34.1. They both have urgent or critical fixes for testnets. So if you're running those on testnet, check them out urgently, as they are mandatory upgrades. Then on Aragon, we have the release of 3.2.0. So this new minor release going forward will be the one supporting Fusaka. So you gotta make sure you update for testnets earlier and then later on for mainnet before the hard forks. And as a reminder again, Polygon, mainstream upstream Aragon is no longer supporting Polygon. So this means you will have to change from this upstream Aragon to Polygon by the time we hit the hard fork, if you haven't done so before. So it seems that they're again maintaining a fork from Aragon, and there's a new Aragon Polygon repo, which will eventually be necessary if you want to keep running Aragon Polygon. And there are no more updates on consensus clients or other parts of the stack since last week. So I'm handing over to Juan for the usual protocol watch.
Thanks, Carlos. Okay, for protocol watch, we do have a few things to cover today. First of all, from governance, there is the dispute from last week, is GDR45. It's another one of the same disputes against the same indexer that just keeps on copy-pasting POIs from other indexers when closing allocations. Still no updates from that indexer in any of the disputes. So again, this is a clear breach of the arbitration charter. So it's going to be penalized again. Last week, unfortunately, we couldn't close it. I was sick, so I'm going to be essentially sending the transaction later today, hopefully. But yeah, that's also going to be an accepted dispute. For forum research, we have the quarterly updates for the previous month. That includes PNX, Streaming Fast, GraphOps, Edge and Node, and Semiotic. All of those are, again, as always, pretty lengthy, so they are linked in the agenda if you're interested in any of those themes. For the contracts repository, there are quite a few updates to PRs, mainly the preview of the rewards eligibility Oracle PR, and a lot of PRs that are related to deploying Horizon to testnet. I think last week there was a IOH special here regarding Horizon. All of those PRs are related to the phases that were described there. To give a brief update on that, I think phase 3 has just been achieved, and there is some testing that needs to go on Arbitrum Sepolia, as far as I'm aware, which is related to the next part, which is the network subgraphs. There is a new core network subgraph. It's new / the same one. It's the core network subgraph, but it's going to be a separate deployment as a temporary subgraph for Horizon. So that is already live. It's linked in the agenda in case you want to start, syncing it or anything for when indexers are going to be participating in the testnet itself. That's pretty much it for PercleWatch. Oh, I see there's something in the chat. Let me check. I haven't followed the dispute. How much is the indexer earning from doing this versus how much? I don't know the exact economics of the disputes. I just know that the indexer has been slashed already multiple times because it just keeps on doing this. I don't think the indexer will be earning more than what it's being slashed for, but I haven't run the numbers. Regardless, I think the indexer is just not even aware of those things happening, which is quite an issue. But it's we try to reach to the indexer and there are no responses, so that's pretty much all that we can do. And yeah, that's pretty much it for PercleWatch. So I'm gonna be handing over to Kate now.
Thanks, Juan. Again, we're still going through some voting. We are getting closer to the end, so I think I can project that we potentially will have rewards for Chapel, Sepolia, and Unichain potentially next week, hopefully. I can't say definitively, but we are getting closer and closer to being able to finish the process with voting and executing. And we are taking steps, like I said before, to make the process a little more seamless when it comes to governance. So I will continue to post updates. And again, I also mentioned the boba BNB shutdown previously, and we also want to expedite that as quickly as possible. Again, I've let indexers know, but I can post again in the channel this week, just kind of a rundown of everything. There's not a lot of activity on boba BNB, but just in case, yeah, we are working to expedite that as much as we can. So hopefully I'll have some more exciting updates soon. Soon TM. Thanks, y'all.
All righty. Amazing. Thank you, everyone, for your respective sections there. Okay. Now we have a session that I'm looking forward to having. It's with Orion, or Slim. Some of you may know him from the Graph Foundation. And he, as some of you may know, did a bunch of surveying of the indexer community to figure out what you guys think and try to understand general sentiment, so that the foundation could try and address some of the challenges and also highlight areas that we can improve and et cetera, and he's done a fantastic job of compiling that into a very comprehensive research paper, and so he's here to discuss that today. And yeah, I'll let Orion take the mic.
Thank you very much. I do hope my sound quality is okay. I tried a few different mics and
crystal clear. It sounds really, really good, actually.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I do want to preface this with saying another thank you to everybody that filled the indexer survey a couple of months ago in June and July. As I started the new role in the 𝗨𝗪 Foundation focused on infrastructure and data services, this was one of the my main focus areas, is ensuring that the indexer community is thriving and that we link the indexer community back to core protocol development tighter, just like we did in the early days of the protocol, and to ensure that my success can be measured. I did send out this survey in June, July, and ask for candid feedback, and I was more than happy with the results I got. It was definitely a lot more detailed than I had hoped for, and also a lot more candid than I had hoped for, which is both which are both good things. So in this session, I will be going through some of that feedback. I had compiled everything into a report, tried to find commonalities, tried to put it into different like blocks of feedback, and try to consolidate it into a report. But know that everything has been read, everything is being followed up on. Some things were a little bit more identifying than others, so that is in a separate page down tracking. But everything has been is being taken into consideration, and I also want to let everybody know, as some of this is definitely both positive and negative, and my intention is not to point any fingers at foundation colleagues, at the core dev colleagues, or anyone else in the ecosystem. It's more of getting a baseline of how we have done over the past couple of years, and this is all a team effort, including indexers and other community members, right? Like, we are all a protocol, and we need to ensure that we are having communication. So this is more of having a baseline and looking at what we are currently doing to address some of these concerns, as well as acknowledging the mistakes that different teams have done in the past, and as well as also brainstorming and having a bit of a workshop session of other things that we can do that we are not currently tracking. So with that as a basis, I will be sharing my screen. Let me see if that
You should be able to share your screen. Yeah.
Yep, I'm sharing my screen now. Let me know if the text size is good.
Yeah, very legible on my side.
Nice. So how this is structured is that we are looking first at the index of pain points people have. Was able to choose from a list of pain points that I had suggested, or have from just me also running an indexer within Pardao and the indexer as well. And I also had an open text field where people could give some more details. So that is the first thing we'll go through, and then we'll go into the more juicy bits of feedback to the foundation core dev teams, the financials of running an indexer, and some other more like juicy details. But the pain points is the first thing we'll go through. This is from the list of predefined pain points. Let me see if we can zoom it out. These are the most common pain points, with how many percentage of respondents clicked on each of them. And we can go into a little bit more detail here, but indexing failures, the infrastructure, both the cost and the maintenance and troubleshooting. Well, shout out to Polygon and other chains as well that we have had some upgrading shenanigans within in these days, and also indexer software bugs or instability. So this is more on this is more on like the upgrade of an indexer, the indexer components, and like new versions maybe not being adequately tested, with a lot of edge cases not being caught. So let's look at these. So these are the first one. Then we go into these are the ones that are most indexers have been mentioning, and documentation tooling is definitely also important. And I think the daily operations, I see that daily operations monitoring and the indexer infrastructure costs of the indexer, not the RPCs, seems to be less of a concern, but still it's a high number. So we can look more into detail on what things they have mentioned. If somebody wants to stop me and jump into the conversation, feel free to as well. But I think we may surface some of these things in the more detailed section, so we can go like point by point here and have some conversations. The first one is the upgrade version instability, where the indexer agent web node upgrades, they introduce bugs, and there may be lack of communication or support around it. And indexers sometimes have to stay on an older version. I have the overview of which indexer service endpoints are reporting which versions, for example, and I see there's a pretty wide distribution at any given time. So I also know the pain of the traditional, like the double releases. I think people that have been around for a long time knows what I'm talking about. And there's always like the release and then the bug fix a week later. There are some, so I'm going to try to pull in some initiatives. So I'm tracking a 2030 initiatives on the indexer side as well, or the service provider side. This is part of like this my relative database, where I'm pulling in some of the things that I think can be a help. In this case, for example, the foundation has now allocated budget for InfraDAO to have one full-time contributor on the backnode side with earmarked time to work on backnode issues and feature requests related to the indexer side. So, and that with that as well, we have the revamped index experience working group. Indexers are welcome to join and contribute. Some of those of you on the call have already joined there. So that is one initiative that we're working on, but I'm curious now to just throw the word back to others here on the call of what are your thoughts on like fixing this pain point?
Yeah, would love to hear people's thoughts. This is like a session where we'd love to hear input, because a lot of you guys who are looking at this right now contributed to the survey. So I'm sure you have some ideas about how we could potentially address these pain points. So we'd love to hear.
Sake Machine is saying not critical. Are there any ideas? Like I'm thinking as well, like if it is something that is a big pain point, and I also want to be aware that like there's some of these things, we have some room to work on some of these with resources, but it's important to find like which ones we would prioritize. I mean, we could have more like detailed release processes, or like have indexes tested, test new releases more detailed. But is it still an issue? I'm not like over the last 6 months I haven't run the InfraDAO or other indexes, so.
We got a question here, which is unrelated, but I guess a pain point here from Hao saying, is token economics inflation considered as a pain point?
So this is more, so right here we have not like, it is, I don't think it's about, it comes to like the infrastructure cost, I guess, it comes in a little bit, but it will come in later in the report, because after we go through these are more like the operational day-to-day pain points. We will look at what indexes have given feedback on foundation core teams, but also the financial viability of running an indexer, and token and inflation and just long-term sustainability is definitely three of the points that come up there. So I think we can put the conversation mostly on that when we get to that. That may not be this session, but
I do think that's a key distinction to make, though, because there's certain like quality of life improvements where there's just general annoyances, and then there's the conversations about the viability of running an indexer, which are that's in two totally different categories. You know, certain pain points, while they might be annoying, are, you know, relatively low cost to navigate that annoyance. But conversations more high level about whether or not it makes sense to continue running an indexer, that's I would say a very important conversation, and I don't know that I want to lump those two into the same category.
Yeah, and that we come to the more like strategic or more like long-term viability, and these after these current pain points. So if we want to get there, we can also like move faster through these ones. But I see Stake Machine is mentioning something about a guaranteed version of rollback procedure after buggy upgrade. So are you referring to having like a backwards compatible wrap node releases to ensure that if you make if we do make a release, that it will not like permanently bork the database if we roll back, for example? I remember there was one version that like there's been a few migration versions where we migrated to a new like DB. Yeah, exactly. So that is, I think that is an important thing to consider. I can, so let me I'm taking some notes on the side here, and I think that is definitely the most important there. I can, yeah, I think that I'll just make notes and add it later, but okay.
I'll also send you the recording, Slim, so you can watch it back if you want as well.
Yeah. The next part is the RPC issues and chain reliability. The unreliable RPCs cause subgraph failures, sync issues, increase the risk of slashing. Certain chains have more issues than others. This was actually something I was looking into a little bit earlier this year, with looking at, like, I made some, for example, on each of these, I've done some research. For example, like how much, for example, call handlers. What if we were to deprecate call handlers? Because call handlers are only impacting 2% of the subgraphs, but at the same time, it is not something that is available. Like, it may not be a major source of instability or determinism issues from the numbers I looked at. I was also looking at like the full versus archive node. Everybody would love to drop the archive node and have a full node, but from what I remember, yeah, 71% of subgraphs use eat calls. So that is not a viable path either. Like if we were to drop archive nodes, we could not do like eat calls, and that is from what I can see, it is a major source of indeterminism. It's also major infrastructure cost, and yeah. And there's also a lot less resources available, a lot less documentation available for archive nodes, a lot less snapshots available for archive nodes. Would have loved for us to deprecate eat calls, but with 71% of our most queried subgraphs using eat calls, it would not be like a viable short term, and especially with where the graph is headed, with new, like a focus on new data services as well. It's something that may not be something that is very viable. So Chris Vessel says dropping DB state access and mappings would be the largest indexing performance improvement we could do, and that would unlock parallelization for mappings. Yeah, it would be yeah, this is also something that many subgraphs rely on, like, for example, being able to load a user and see what does it have, and if it has this, then do these things, right? And it kind of like that's one of the benefits subgraphs have over the parallelized indexing solutions that we have, like substreams. Well, substreams with a with a sink and querying from that sink. It's that it is you always have access to the state unless you use like declarative calls and things like that. So yeah, so Mickey, you mentioned a good point here when we look at figures of X% of subgraphs. Yeah, that's a good point. The number I mentioned there with 71.2%, that is the 71.2% of the 1,000 most created subgraphs on the network. So it is the ones that are, and if we look at the distribution of queries, that is very much overrepresented in, well, a very high representation of the queries on the network. So it's definitely not someone that we would want to force to adapt to a new paradigm. And the challenge is that if we try to separate it into subgraphs that are either requiring full versus archived, pricing it differently, like all of these things add complication. And I know that some of the user experience feedback have been that we want to simplify things as much as possible. But Josh put up a point as well. With Horizon coming, we should have different subgraph services, one for subgraphs that don't rely on these heavier burdens, and one for light subgraphs. So that could that is something that I guess we could look into, especially with DIPS coming up as well. The DIPS does take into consideration how much it can take into consideration what it takes to run a subgraph and to store it. So we could have a different pricing model for it. And yeah, that's something I will just make sure that we consider as well, and that I'm part of that discussion. I wonder how many use cases of subgraphs today can be covered with Token API instead, says Matthew. I think they are very distinct, right? Like, I think there's a lot of use cases where, for example, a subgraph might be more protocol centric, while the Token API is easier to be like an address centric or user centric. But yeah, it's definitely a big pain point, and I'm thinking as well here. Like, we do have some tooling that was started. We started working on some tooling, and it was no longer being like the highest priority. That is in regards to like automating the handling of issues and subgraph failures. And the reason that it hasn't been the highest priority is simply the development of new data services, and realizing that we do want to we do want to focus on bringing new net revenue into the protocol. And I have read the I have also I've seen both the protocol team have looked at the rethinking, and I've also read the thread SIG machine. So thank you for that, and also thank you for the feedback that you have also given to that have helped form this report. So I've already given a write-up on your forum post internally as well. So I appreciate that. A lot of good ideas here and a lot of good things that are. I'm not sure if you caught the. Ford had a little bit of a preview of a data service that Edgenode have been working on for the last 1.5 years, 2 years, but that addressed some of these concerns with duplicate work and and it also suggested a data service that is have divided roles in the same way that you described for subgraphs. So there was not much that was released on that IO8 episode, but it was like a 5-10 minute piece with a little bit of information. It was more so than it isn't meant as a pre-release or it was more of an attempt to make the indexer community as aware as we can and make sure that we don't while at the same time making sure that we don't fall into the trap we've gone into before, where we open source everything very early and others are able to just copy it. So it's definitely great ideas, and I recommend that you look at the 10-minute preview that Paul gave. I think it's a month ago if you haven't, but there will be a lot more coming pretty soon as well. So just yeah. So it's the same here with the subgraph failures and reliability. I think this is also the same. We don't need to go too deeply on each of these, like if we want to get to the juicy bits. But because I see Chris is pointing as well, like 10 minutes. This is going to be like a recurring section where we will come back to this report and go through these things and discuss them. But feel free to stop me at any time people want to discuss a little bit in chat as well. Unmute the mic, post in chat. But I feel like these are a little bit on the same side with the subgraph failures and reliability. That's also where we would love to bring some tooling to the community that automatically, for example, rewinds or retries subgraphs. Some of it has already been developed in the GraphNode side as well. Infrastructure costs, I think we'll get back to this when we get into the financial viability, because I think it's we need to look at that together with the revenue streams of running an indexer. And then we have support and expertise gaps. Even when the support response indexer team lacks deep knowledge to resolve issues, much support comes instead from community members. That is also being heard. InfoDAO have also gotten a bit of a budget to have someone at least peek into the channels from the indexer community, and we're still finalizing, or we're still looking into who would be available to take on that role. So that would at least also help us have a bit of a better coverage of people that know how to run an indexer versus people that know the infrastructure. So they would answer indexer related questions and questions that are more related to graph node and indexing components would be raised internally to the graph node team or the other the appropriate team, and we can follow up on it. Another thing is that we have just we now have not a ticketing system, but a tag in Discord for now that we are using actively at indexer support. But we are currently looking, as I said, for the indexer support for it. So I'll keep you tuned on that. Because I don't think there's a lot of questions in Discord, but once things break as an indexer, I do realize that there may not be complete overlap between those that know the software and those that know how to run an indexer in a way. So documentation problems. So this is definitely an issue with fragmentation as well, like where we may have people working on documentation, especially on Firehose and substreams that are not as I feel like I'm talking a lot here, but this is where I'm thinking that it may be easier when we start also bringing this to the network, the Firehose substreams, as this is something that until now Firehose is more of an option and an alternative to RPCs. Is there anyone that wants to talk anything about Firehose right now? Have anyone tried to run Firehose like lately? I know Phoenix CMS, but is there anyone that is running it as part of their indexer? Nice. Wrap-ups and data indexes, and Mark-Andre as well. Is there how is the documentation now? Is it clear when there's upgrades? Is it breaking? Is there anything that we can do to support indexes that are running it from your perspective? Yeah. You know, Matthew have been shouted out so many times in these reports. All in like indexes have a lot of good things to say about Matthew. So I'm so happy he's with us in the community, and yeah, he is Firehose documentation. Yeah, but Phoenix team, Firehose, and Matthews have both been shouted out so many times in these reports. So thank you so much to them. Is that what is needed there, like to ensure that we have a smoother process? Is it like for the three of you that mentioned you're running Firehose? Is there anything we can do there to ensure a smoother operation? Is it part of the watch, the RPC and repo watch? And should it be able on? Do you know if it's like is it part of? So I have to admit that when we go through the versions, I'm kind of just.
We do announce Firehose Ethereum and new release on Firehose Ethereum tags and on the Go on the Get fork. It's part of repo watch, yeah.
Okay, cool. But the beginner docs is out of date. So if there's anyone that wants, like where does what is the best beginner docs right now? Like where would you start as an indexer? Is it streaming pass documentation? Does PNX have anything? I know maybe we have something on their own info now as well. But where would you start? what is the, yeah, maybe I will look into that. Like, we are already coming up on the time. There was a little bit of a, we started a little bit later, right? But we have a lot of things that we can go into later, but it's going to be a lot more juicier coming up, and we go into more like specific feedback on some sections. But if that is like unclear to people as well, where do we find beginner documentation, the initial sync, then, well, InfoDAO is more than happy to create a bounty on it if an indexer is like we already have some Firehose documentation in the works as well, but not specifically for Ethereum Firehose. If that is also a challenge, then that is something that we may want to do as well. So I can look into that and see if we can. Yeah, Matthew's YouTube videos is what I sent to all of our contributors. These are great. I wasn't sure if they are still up to date because they are 2 years ago. But if they are still good, then I know. Yeah, I don't know if people have any other comments on it. Okay, so maybe the CTA there is then to ensure that it's being surfaced more. Is it already in the canonical docs? And does people use InfoDAO's RPC docs? If you do, we could. If it's okay with Pinax, we could just have a link where we link out to, like, if someone is running Firehose, here's the Firehose documentation, and we'll link to your YouTube playlist. I think that could be a good option to just surface it so people are more aware. If it's a good documentation, then yeah, I'll follow up on that. But yeah, let me know if that is not okay to be linking to your Firehose 101. But otherwise, perfect. Then we'll create just a small page and linking to that and saying that this is how to run the Firehose. And that, so people use that together with the canonical docs to get the final, or get the current or the canonical repo to get the current current numbers to use, or the current settings to use, or where do people get, like, what do people combine with that to get the current settings? Is it the Firehose? So 2 years of release notes. Maybe so maybe that is something that yeah, if anyone feel called to make like to go through these and have like put a guide, we can definitely have a bounty for it from InfoDAO side as well. Putting my InfoDAO hat on there, but if someone feels called, feel free to reach out. We are at the end of the hours. I think we'll do the remaining here, and then we'll get into the more juicy pieces on how people feel about the foundation, about core devs, about financial viability on the next session that we have some time. Feel free to reach out to me if you want the format to be different. I would love to have more participation, and I think it may be better stated for more participation in the upcoming sessions, because they might be a little bit more controversial. Well, more like a lot of opinions and less. Yeah. But I would love to have suggestions. I would love to have opinions. I would love to have people participate. As a last reminder, next week we'll do a focus session on Horizon. Horizon is already deployed on the testnet. It will be well, some of the Horizon components it's already deployed. We'll have a small group of indexes test Horizon at the end of this week and start of next week, and there will be an opportunity for indexes to do sort of a dry run where you upgrade together with the core testers, and that's entirely optional on 𝗨𝗂𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀, and there will be more details about that on Tuesday next week. And so we'll have yeah, I recommend people that want to try out Horizon and want to do the dry run to definitely catch that session. The upgrade process is staged in the same way that it's staged on well, as in multiple stages, and it will be a limited time where you can follow the entire upgrade process. It will be around 1 week. So I encourage indexes that want to do the dry run and want to just test everything beforehand to catch that session or watch the recording as soon as possible after, because once we set that transition period, which would probably be like a week, it's you can't really go back. So then we will be doing the upgrade process on 𝗨𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀, and you can all test everything to see that it works. So, thank you so much. I'll give it back to Abel to close it out, but that's all on my end. We'll continue this conversation. So thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Slim, for working on that and also presenting it so eloquently. Yeah, just echoing what Slim said, Horizon session coming next week, and we'll be doing many more sessions on this on these topics that Slim has brought up in today's conversation. Don't you worry, there'll be plenty of times to chime in and share your thoughts. So thank you everyone for joining for today's session. Appreciate everyone for being so flexible and moving from Discord all the way through to Google Hangout. Yeah, thank you all, and we'll see you again same time next week in Discord. Fingers crossed we have no issues and everything goes smoothly. Have a wonderful rest of your week, everyone. Take care, and bye-bye.